Live Mas. This is Andrei Rublev. Heavy hitters.
Heavy hitters. Yeah, last week was Children of Paradise, right?
Yeah.
So two old black and white 3+ hour long films. Both of these films are over 3 hours long.
Damn.
Sometimes ping pong is not so kind.
And that's this week.
That is this week. Not to say this isn't a good movie. Just, we'll talk about
It's just a lot.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to Seen and Heard.
Hi.
This is the podcast where two entertainment assistants go through the Sight and Sound top 100 greatest films of all time list. I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
And we're here this week for our second Andrei Tarkovsky film that we've covered so far on this podcast. The first being Mirror, which we did last fall. So if you haven't heard that one, go check it out. But yeah, we're back for 1966's Andrei Rublev. And which number on the list is this, Jackie?
Okay, this is number 26 on the 2012 list. It's number 67 on the 2022 list.
Wow, another drop.
Quite a drop.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that.
Yeah.
To make way for Get Out and other things.
It's not hard to see why for a movie like this, honestly.
Well, we'll get into that.
Yeah.
Besides Andrei Rublev, all 3 hours, Jackie, what else have you been watching this last week?
The Passion of Andrei, which is the 3.5 hour version.
Wait, did you watch that one instead?
I'm kidding. No, I was trying to make a joke that I also watched that, which would add up to over 6 hours of Andrei Rublev. No, I saw 1001, which is a new film by A.V. Rockwell. It's really beautiful and really nuanced. It tells the story of a Harlem mother who's just trying to create a stable family, like the family she never had growing up. And she's played by Teyana Taylor. Do you know Teyana Taylor?
No.
I love her. She's a musician. She's kind of a perfect triple threat. She's a musician, she's a dancer and choreographer, and she's an actress. I didn't know she was an actress until now. She's incredible in it. And I always love when musicians can act really well. And I don't know, I get a kick out of that always. She's incredible in it. The movie's great. The Last Detail, which I'd never seen.
What's that?
What's not to like, It's great.
Hal Ashby.
I know, it's really good. And it's really sad. And that's kind of his brand, though.
Hal Ashby or Jack Nicholson?
Hal Ashby. Sad and funny. I saw The Passion of Anna, the Bergman movie.
Wow, you've been busy.
It's 3 movies. That's all I've seen, actually.
Yeah, but Andrei Rublev is 3 hours.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
No, I'm saying I'm proud of you.
Passion of Anna. Thank you. But those are the only 3 movies I've seen since I've seen you. Plus Andrei Rublev. Passion of Anna is so good.
I haven't seen that one.
It's in color.
What?
And it's incredible.
It's from the 60s?
Yeah, I think it's 69.
Okay.
Beautiful color. And it's on the island, and it's the classics. It's Max von Sydow, it's Liv Ullmann, it's Bibi Andersson, Erland Josephson. Like those 4 on the island in color.
Sven Nykvist?
Yes.
Oh.
It's incredible. And there's they're having drama, right? But then there's an animal killer on the loose on the island who's doing horrific acts to animals.
Is it you killing parrots?
In the background. Yeah, I wish. And you know what else it does, which is really cool? I don't want to spoil too much, but in the middle of the movie, it'll cut to an interview of Ingmar Bergman interviewing the 4 actors. It starts with Liv, and then it's Max, or it starts with Max, and then it's Liv, but interplayed throughout the movie. And it'll have the slate, Bibi Andersson, take 1. And it's literally just him interviewing her about her character in the middle of the movie. It's wild. This man, really, truly, I just love him so. Who does that? Who gets away with that? How do you do that? You should see it.
Yeah.
I think you'd like it.
No, I mean, it's just great. Bergman has so many films. And it's,
Which is wonderful. There's always a well.
I kind of like that I haven't seen all of his best films yet.
Yeah.
I'm going to use this as a segue.
Go ahead.
I'm a big Star Trek fan, and I haven't seen any Star Trek series in their entirety. I think because I like the idea of having some always to go back to, and most of them are standalone anyway. So it's like, it's been a while since I've seen the original series of The Next Generation, pop on an episode. And like, there's still more. Like, I haven't seen it all. I like there's some Bergman films I haven't seen.
But I'm sorry, I'm so confused about Star Trek. I don't understand how it works. Is it a movie? Is it a TV show? Are they books? I can't wrap my head around what Star Trek is.
It's very simple. It started as a TV series in the 60s that was kind of
So it's a TV series.
It started
But then why are there so many different iterations?
Okay, so it started as a TV series, then it was an animated series. Then they started making movies in the 70s.
Was the show still happening when they were
No,
making
it was
movies?
long over.
Okay.
And then they started making other shows, like they did The Next Generation, which was a whole new crew with like No, it was a whole different, because it takes place way later. So it's like Patrick Stewart and all those people came in, LeVar Burton. And then they had Deep Space Nine, which is like each show would kind of set up another show. So like The Next Generation set up this show called Deep Space Nine, which is just about all these people that live at this space station at the far reaches of like this one galaxy. And it's just about all the people that come through the space station. And then it's about like the politics of people that live there, like building shops and restaurants and just like the kind of drama that ensues from that.
Okay.
But my long-winded point was there hasn't been any Star Trek before 2017. There hadn't been a Star Trek show since like 2005. And I think I got into Star Trek in like 2010. So in the time I got into it, there was no Star Trek shows on. 2017 was the first big one in a while. It was called Star Trek Discovery, which I saw when it first came out, and I didn't really like it because it's very aggressive and violent. And I felt like it went against what Star Trek should be. But I actually just got back into it. I went back and I've been watching it and I've actually been loving it. Michelle Yeoh is a regular. She's a recurring character on the series. Tig Notaro is on the series. Anthony Rapp is a regular on the series. So it has it has a good cast. Jason Isaacs was a regular. Oh. So it's I've been really enjoying it.
What about like the movies with Chris Pine?
The J.J. Abrams movies are a reboot of the original series. So Chris Pine plays the William Shatner character. Zachary Quinto plays Spock. Mm-hmm. So it's like a reimagining. Mm-hmm. It's not canon. It's like a new timeline. The J.J. Abrams ones. Okay. Did you see any of those?
No.
They're whatever. The first one's pretty good. The other two are trash. But like, they're not. It's not real Star Trek. Is that confusing?
It is so confusing.
Anyway.
What else have you been watching?
No, yeah, I've just been mostly I never do this, but I've been binging Star Trek Discovery. It's been nice.
Cool.
I've been enjoying it.
That's really nice.
And then I did see Nashville at the New Beverly.
Oh, that looked so fun.
And Ronnie Blakely was there.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw her sitting. She was like in the aisle wearing a cowboy hat before the movie. I was like, oh, this woman's like into it. And then they go to introduce her and they're like, oh, and Ronnie Blakely's here.
Aww.
And she goes up and just talked about how she got the role and what it was like working with Altman and
that's really sweet.
Writing the songs and all that stuff.
Yeah,
so, yeah.
She wrote those songs.
And then, no, she did. Yeah.
I know.
And then she came, sat down and watched the movie with everybody.
Aww.
And then people are like going up to her in the lobby afterwards and stuff. But
I would have.
I was, yeah.
I would have just been like, thank you.
I know. I should have. I have this thing now where like I just don't want to bother people. But she's there to like talk to people about Nashville.
It's just annoying when like someone grabs her or anyone and is like talking and talking and talking because then like you don't want to interrupt and you can't and then a line forms.
Yeah, and then you look awkward standing there. Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it's really hard. I get it.
Yeah, but no, it was. I mean, I can't think of anyone living that's cooler than her to have gone to the show. She's like the best character.
Yeah, she's like kind of the main character.
She's the heart of the movie.
Yeah, I mean, if Shelley Duvall came.
Yeah. Although, I mean, she's
Shelley's
great.
not even in it that much.
She's not in it that much. L.A. Joan.
Oh, man.
I'd prefer her for like Three Women or something, you know, or Thieves Like Us. Like, I would love to see her then, but like for Nashville, Ronnie Blakely.
Ronnie Blakely, perfect.
Boom.
Is Keith Carradine still alive?
Yeah. I was half expecting him to show up with an acoustic guitar and sing I'm Easy.
Cool. Well, Lily Tomlin could have come.
Does she live in L.A.?
Probably. Isn't she in Grace and Frankie?
I think the thing with her is like, yeah, she's still working and stuff. And I think Ronnie Blakely's probably retired. And
aww.
Yeah.
Sweet.
But yeah, that's been my week.
That's nice.
Yeah. Well,
Ugh.
are you ready
Yeah.
to get into this week's film? Okay, from 1966, this is Andrei Tarkovsky's Andrei Rublev.
Andrei Rublev was originally released in 1966. It was directed by Andrei Tarkovsky, written by Tarkovsky and Andrei Konchalovsky. Cinematography by Vadim Yuzov. Music by Vyacheslav Ovchinnikov. The film is an account of the life of the famed 15th century Russian icon painter Andrei Rublev. The film opens with an unexplained prologue in which a man tries to fly in a medieval hot air balloon. The story is then divided into 8 episodic chapters and 1 epilogue. Andrei and his 2 fellow monks/painters, Kirill and Daniil, leave their monastery to find work in Moscow. They take shelter from rain in a barn where a jester is entertaining some peasants. Eventually, a group of soldiers come and violently arrest the jester. The famed Greek icon master, Theophanes, asks Kirill if he will be his assistant in painting a new fresco. Kirill agrees, but only if Theophanes comes to the monastery and asks him in front of all his fellow monks, including Rublev. Theophanes' men come to the monastery, but ask for Rublev instead, and a jealous Kirill leaves the monkhood. In an episode called The Passion According to Andrei, Andrei describes his optimism and his feelings about Jesus' crucifixion to a skeptical Theophanes. He then stumbles upon a group of pagans and is tempted by one of the women, and he later watches as they are persecuted. Rublev is commissioned to paint the Last Judgment, but does not want to paint the fire and brimstone meant to scare believers. The Grand Prince is betrayed by his brother, who joins forces with a group of Tatars to invade the city of Vladimir. Andrei is there painting during the violent raid, and he kills a man who threatens to rape Durochka, a mute girl that Andrei has adopted as a companion. After the raid, he takes a vow of silence to atone for his sin. Later, Kirill returns to the monastery and apologizes for his jealousy. He chides Andrei for no longer pursuing his God-given talent of painting and admits that it was he who ordered the arrest on the jester. Later, a bell is being commissioned by the prince, and a young man, Boriska, claims that his father, a master bellcaster, told him the secret of his trade before he died. Boriska is put in charge of the bell. Despite doubts and obstacles, the bell is a success, but a distraught and exhausted Boriska tells Andrei that his father never told him the secret after all. Inspired by the faith in his craft, Andrei tells Boriska that they'll go together to Trinity Monastery, where Andrei will paint again and Boriska will make bells. The epilogue, shot in color, displays the rich artistry of the work of Rublev.
Wow.
Dude.
Jackie, you really went through each of those segments.
Bruh. I didn't know. Like, at first I started, I'm okay, like 1 sentence per chapter. There's only 8. But it's like, what is the point of the jester if you're not going to talk about him again in the end, and how
Right.
Kirill was like, oh, I'm the one that told on him.
Right. No, you did a great job.
I don't know.
As usual.
Thank you. The film stars Anatoly Solonitsyn as Andrei Rublev, Ivan Lapikov as Kirill, Nikolai Grinko as Daniil, and Irina Tarkovskaya as Durochka. She's actually the director's wife, or was. She also appears in Ivan's Childhood. We also have Ivan from Ivan's Childhood, but I was going to mention him later.
And the guy that plays Andrei Rublev is in Stalker.
Yeah. He's his Bobby De Niro.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's in a bunch of stuff. He's in Mirror.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Okay. Okay. This was Tarkovsky's second film after Ivan's Childhood from 1962. It's important to note that this film was given the green light and the budget from the Soviet government during the Thaw, which refers to the creative liberty granted to artists while Nikita Khrushchev was in office. However, he was deposed before the film was finished. And so its violent, spiritual, dark nature made it really difficult for the film to be released in the USSR. It was completed in 1966, known as The Passion According to Andrei, which is one of the chapters now. It was screened for the critics, censors, and government officials. The responses were actually good, but it didn't get the seal of approval for popular release from the censors. Tarkovsky agreed to cut it from about 200 minutes to 186 and has actually endorsed this as the definitive cut. It was screened once, and more cuts were demanded after that screening, but he refused, and the film was shelved without a domestic release. It was then scheduled to play at Cannes in 1967, but it was pulled at the last minute by the Soviet government. 2 years later, in 1969, it was finally shown at the festival out of competition at a 4 a.m. screening.
What?
Yeah.
Jeez.
It won the International Critics Prize, even though it screened at 4 a.m.
2 people were there.
It opened in Paris in late 1969 against the objections of the Soviet embassy. Finally, in 1971, the Soviet government released it domestically. It was later cut again by Columbia for American distribution, and there's an unauthorized 101-minute version that was cut in 1973 for Soviet television that he never even knew that they were doing. The film was shot on location. It was hard. Like, there's so much about the release of this movie, but the actual shooting itself, there's not that much info out there. But it was shot on location, the Narrow River and other Vladimir's, a real city, was shot there, and yeah.
I feel like the production of a lot of his films remains mysterious.
Totally.
Except for the fact that
go ahead.
I was just going to say with Stalker, yeah, like they shot it and they exposed the film or something, so they had to like reshoot the whole movie. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Sorry, what were you going to say?
Nothing. I'll save it for later, actually. Okay. Tell me your initial thoughts. Like, do you love this movie?
Okay, so this is my second time seeing Andrei Rublev. I was first made aware of this film by my friend Matt, I think just after high school. He's the one that showed me Stalker. And this was back when if you wanted to watch a Tarkovsky movie, you had to buy like a bootleg. And so it was a DVD of Stalker. That was my introduction. And I remember just being like mesmerized by it, but also like, I hadn't really seen slow cinema at that point. So anyway, I'll save that for when we talk about Stalker because it is coming up. Mm-hmm. But, this was the next film of his I was made aware of because I ran into my friend Matt, who showed me Stalker at a used record store, Rasputin Music in the Bay Area. And he, you would often go with a stack of old DVDs you didn't want anymore to go exchange them and get credit and buy other stuff. So he had this film, the old Criterion DVD for Andrei Rublev in his stack. And I was like, oh, what's this? He's like, oh yeah, it's Tarkovsky. He's like, it's good, but I mean, I'm never going to watch this again. And like I saw the cover. Have you seen the old Criterion cover for it? It's everyone else can't see, but it is a red background with just a paint.
It's an icon version
it's an icon version of Andrei Rublev, but like this looked like the most boring movie in existence. And I was like, cool. I don't know if I'm ever going to watch that. So flash forward to probably 10 years later, and I'm getting big time into Tarkovsky, and I'm seeing Stalker in the theater. It gets restored, and I'm seeing other stuff, Solaris and Nostalgia, which I think remains my favorite. And this was like a big one that loomed large of like, oh, I feel like that one's going to be really boring. And I think it was the time when Criterion put the new Blu-ray out, which is probably 5 years ago, 4 or 5. No, maybe 3. Maybe I saw this 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years, 3 to 5 years ago.
Okay.
Somewhere in there. So I sat down and watched this and I loved it. I gave it 4.5 stars on Letterboxd. I made some dumb, lazy connection to La Dolce Vita and I went on with my life. You see it though, right?
What, your review?
No, that's the La Dolce Vita. Like,
well, it's episodic.
It's episodic, and it's less about him and more sort of the things that happen around him and him getting involved in these little stories. So it's lazy. It was definitely a lazy comparison, but
you're so hard on yourself.
So I loved it, but Jackie, this week, as we've both been very busy, I was not in the mood to watch this movie this week.
Same.
I was not in the mood.
Me too.
I kind of put it off a little bit. Actually, I watched it 2 days ago, so it's not like I watched it this morning or last
Tuesday.
night. But also, I was like busy. Like I watched it in the last window I had to watch it. You watched it Wednesday? Okay, yeah, I watched it Wednesday also. Wednesday night?
No, I was at the opera Wednesday.
Oh,
night.
you were at the opera. So yeah, I watched this and I did not want to watch it. I really didn't want to. I was not in the mood to see a Tarkovsky movie, and especially not this one. So it's this interesting thing of like, you're watching it and I'm not enjoying myself because I don't want to be watching this movie, but I know I love the movie. So it's this weird thing of like, yeah, that my viewing and prep for this episode was not like ideal. And I was checking my watch every, 20 minutes, and I feel bad. I always kind of feel bad, but look, that's when you pick a life of cinema, you're just going to have to watch stuff that you don't feel like watching sometimes. When you have a film podcast with a release schedule,
right?
And you're like, this week we are doing Andrei Rublev. Right. Well, then you have to watch Andrei Rublev that week.
That's what you have to do.
And, so I feel kind of bad because I kind of suffered through it this time. But I know it's a great film. I do love the movie. And like I said, the first time I saw it, I was completely bowled over by it. I think, just to keep it nice and simple, I think, again, I think I like it for the same reasons I like La Dolce Vita, in that I like that kind of episodic storytelling about how one person just gets mixed up.
Yeah.
And it does feel, I know so little about medieval Russia. Mm-hmm. So I'm not getting everything, mm-hmm. right? But like, it does feel like this very historic, like, portrait of a time.
Right.
So I really like it. I do think the Bell segment at the end is by far the most compelling.
Yeah,
I think too, because the stakes are so much higher in that. Like,
Definitely.
It's this kid who's nobody, and his family's been killed. Yeah. Like, everything is riding on this bell. Mm-hmm. And I think the way that he takes you through the steps of like how the bell's made and the pressure of like they're going to be beheaded.
Yeah, I love that. But also, like, Andrei has nothing to do in that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Like, absolutely nothing.
Maybe it's like, if that's my favorite segment and Andrei's barely in it, like,
right.
It's kind of telling that maybe he's not the most interesting character.
I mean, he's not, but he's not really a character. I think he's just like
he's a wanderer.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. So anyway,
interesting.
Yeah.
Which we'll talk about.
Anyway, those were my conditions. I do think I want to go on the record and say that I love the film. I think it's a great film, and I just it always sucks when you have to like watch something that you're not in the mood to watch, like, at all. And this is a big one. It's not like some 90-minute comedy where it's like I don't feel like watching. This is a commitment. This is an entire evening.
Right.
It's black and white. It's in Russian. Again, I don't care. Like, I read subtitles all the time. Black and white does not deter me. But I feel like all of those things, historic, old,
really
black and
violent.
white, Russian. Yeah. And you're just
really
like,
sad.
yeah. So yeah, it's a great film. It's just that this viewing was not ideal.
So
anyway.
Yeah. I totally feel that.
How about you?
So I hadn't seen this. This was my first time, and I was excited because I've never met a Tarkovsky movie I don't like.
Yeah. Which ones have you seen at this point?
I've seen Ivan's Childhood, Mirror, Stalker, 3 fantastic, great, beautiful movies. So yeah, I was really excited. Well, I was excited, and then I realized that it was 3 hours and that it was very dark, and I was tired. It's the same thing. Like, I napped. I paused it. And I closed my eyes for 30 minutes, but it was the middle of the day on Wednesday. That never happens to me. I genuinely feel like Tarkovsky movies are just too ethereal to talk about, or I feel like I'm not qualified to talk about them. Like, when I came before we started recording, I was just like, I don't know what I'm gonna say. But because this movie has so many, I feel like, historical and cultural and spiritual and like implications, and just like implications about art and humanity, that I just feel like maybe I wasn't in the right headspace. Like I described, I was quite tired and I've been very busy. Maybe I was expecting it to be something it wasn't. And I want to rewatch it because I feel like I didn't. Like, there were moments that I was very blown away by its otherworldliness because it just happens, it's Tarkovsky. But overall, yeah, I feel like I need to give it a rewatch. I know that's kind of vague, but I was immediately struck by how little actual painting there was in the film.
It's like none, right?
Yeah. And that's such a conscious decision. At first, I didn't know how I felt about it because I don't know. I do like to be flooded with the work of someone. Like if I'm watching a movie about an artist, I do kind of like to be flooded by the work. But very quickly I realized what was going on and I liked it a lot. And then I loved how at the end it was in color. It's the reverse Wizard of Oz. It's like, look how dim and like dark and horrible his world is. But then look at the beautiful art he makes from it.
Right.
So that's lovely. And that really works for me.
Do you think this film is even really about him?
No, I think it's about Russia, but I don't fully understand why because I just don't know that much about Russian history. I think it's about like Christian identity in Russia for sure. But then it came out in a time when there was no religion in Russia. And I was going to say like it's now having seen this, the thread between this and Color of Pomegranates is so much clearer to me because it's two Soviet filmmakers who had to deal with censorship, but they wanted to make a movie about a famous artist, but not really about the famous artist, really about their cultural identity.
Right.
And that was really fascinating. And I like that. And also kind of autobiographical of the director's hardships. Because I don't know, some people said this was like autobiographical of Tarkovsky having to like be commissioned by the government to make things. And
oh yeah, sure.
And of course we talked on our Color of Palms episode about that with Parajanov. But yeah.
And Tarkovsky was deeply spiritual too. Very spiritual person.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. I don't know. I think I gotta give it another watch.
Yeah.
But I did grow up, like I'm Armenian and we're Oriental Orthodox, and so like those icons are so familiar to me. So it was I really loved the end. I was like, oh, hell yeah. I was like, this is cool. So that was nice. And even there's a beautiful shot of the Greek artist's like icon that he was working on. And that was cool. And I don't know. So I thought it was going to be about, that's why I thought I was going to see like all these icons, which was fine that way. I like the end result, but yeah.
I imagine your audience reaction card to this, if you went to a test screening, it just says
more
not
icons.
enough icons.
It's so funny. It's like things you grow up with. Like I don't even really like. Yeah, those are beautiful, but I don't think about them that much. But then like when I see it, there's a movie about it. I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know.
It was something prior to, because I never took like art history or anything or like religious classes or whatever. So like prior to seeing this film, I wasn't. Religious iconography stuff, like it wasn't on my radar.
Yeah. So
interesting.
That was neat.
What's your favorite of the 8 segments?
You know, it's the bell, but I think it's kind of the Passion of Andrei, the Passion according to Andrei, because I love that shit. Like I love how weird it is.
The one with the pagans?
No. That's a separate one. That's called The Holiday. This is literally called The Passion According to Andrei. And it's just a weird, like, passion play that he imagines in his mind. Like, modern, but also not. And I just think that that's really cool. I don't know. I could hear him give his interpretation of The Passion for longer. Because it's just weird.
Yeah.
There's something I like about, like, people giving their personal opinions about Jesus. Like I find that very fascinating. And just like making up stories. Yeah. You know? Like people treating it as like a story that they adapt and think about in their own way. That's interesting to me. So right. I like that one. But I also love the bell.
Yeah.
What about you? Bell? Yeah, bell's great.
Bell followed by
we
pagans.
We like the bell. Pagans are great. The pagan one is great.
I want more of that. That's the film I want to. I want to be with the I want the film to be about the pagans.
That would be really cool. Yeah. I love the pagans. Let's start with the prologue.
Oh yeah,
I love it. Love it.
Okay, so actually, I lied. The first time I saw this movie, I saw the first 10 minutes with that balloon, and I turned it off because I was like, "What the fuck?" I turned it off, and then I didn't go back for like 5 years.
I love it.
No, it's great. I think I just like wasn't. It just didn't fit into like what I thought this film was going to be.
But tell me what do you think that is?
Jackie, I don't.
A lot of people compare it to Icarus.
Oh, okay, sure.
And then they're like, well, I personally think it's like the plight of an artist, like reaching for the stars, but then failing.
Does he live?
Probably not. But I love how silly he is. Like he seems drunk.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah. I think he's drunk for sure.
Look at me. And I really like it. Yeah. I love the point of view shots from up there. Those are beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just like he wants to get a clear view of everything. Now I'm like really digging, but like the way an artist wants to get like a clear view of the world, and then like the way that they think they understand the world better, and then but like he fails and he falls, and
Yeah.
I don't know.
No, it's a nice visual. I think it's so goofy.
It's very goofy
To
for the
open
rest
this,
of the
like,
movie. I know.
3-hour, very serious Russian film.
But then you have the horse.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like it cuts to the horse and then it cuts back to the hot air balloon on the ground. What's that horse?
I don't know.
We'll talk about the horses.
Yeah.
There's several scenes with horses.
Yeah, some upsetting.
Yes, which we'll talk about.
Yeah.
No one is off the hook here.
No.
No, not even Tarkovsky.
No.
Let's talk about, like, we've talked a little bit about biopics, you and me, and how
Off mic. Or maybe we have talked on the show.
with like Color of Pomegranates, I feel like we talked about it. Like
Oh, sure.
non-traditional biopics, if you even want to call them.
Yeah, the color pomegranates.
It's
you go to the
biopic.
rental section. It's like biopics. And it's like color pomegranates.
definitely.
Next to like Walk the Line. Or
It's just so funny because my parents literally thought it was a movie about Sayat Nova, and they're like, let's put it on. And it just like,
Oh, I forgot your parents
hated
watched
it. They hated Color of Palms, which is so sad. Anyway, do you remember how we talked about like don't adapt a masterpiece? Like we were talking about like Bella Bellas and how he said like don't adapt a masterpiece to film because then you'll never a masterpiece in a different work of art.
Right.
So I feel like that's how I feel about biopics. Like this movie and Color of Palms made me think about biopics in the sense that you can't just tell the story of someone's life. You have to make it cinematic. And I think that this stands as a good example of that.
I think too, the problem you run into is like the work of the person is usually so great. That's why they're making the film about it. That like, how do you convey the artistic process and what the art means to people? It's just tough. And I think that's why so many films get it wrong. But I think that's why this film is successful in like...
Because it's about the world of the artist.
It's about the world, but also, again, you don't see his artwork till the end.
Exactly.
Even that
and
scene,
I love that
first big scene with Kirill and the icon painter,
Theophanis.
Yeah, Theophanis. Mm-hmm. You see him painting something.
Who?
Theophanis. But you literally, they have this whole dialogue scene about coming back and working, being his assistant and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then you don't even see what Theophanis is painting until the very end. The camera reveals it.
I love that.
So Tarkovsky is intentionally withholding the artwork from you.
I also really love that he walks in and Theophanis is just laying down. I loved that. When that happened, I'm like, this is going to be
Because that was you watching this movie, taking a snooze.
I'm like, this is going to be good. But yeah, it's like the art is famous for a reason. I don't need to see Elvis singing all of his greatest hits. I need to see why he wanted to sing all those greatest hits. You know what I mean? Like, I really like this format. So that's just a thought that I had.
And the way, too, that you just get it all in the end with this heavenly music.
It's beautiful. Yeah, the music in the end.
In color.
Love it. And it just so happens that this world of this artist is just so dark and so austere. It's a movie about a pacifist monk living in like an extremely violent world. So yeah, let's talk about that violence.
Yeah, let's talk. It was actually darker than I remember it being.
Yeah.
Have you seen that film Hard to Be a God?
Mm-mm.
It came out 10 years ago or something, but it is this like, this was like the main inspiration point. It's kind of, imagine Andrei Rublev as like a sci-fi thing, but it still takes place in like, I'm not sure which country it is, but it's like medieval times, black and white. There's just filth everywhere. People are dirty. People are getting killed. Like it has that same, like it takes this and runs with it.
Right.
But yeah,
So yeah. A lot of the shots that were cut were the extremely violent ones. There was more of the artisans that, you know, they get their eyes gorged out. There was more of that and he cut it. So what happens is there's these artisans who are making a mansion for the Grand Prince, but then they leave the Grand Prince saying, we're going to go make a mansion for your brother too. And then he has his men come and gouge out their eyes.
Yeah.
There was that. There was more of that. There was a cow on fire during the raid of Vladimir.
What?
And he actually set a cow on fire. They covered the cow in asbestos.
Oh,
so he wasn't in pain. And apparently he lived. But they
the
cut it
fuck?
out. There was a literal cow.
Yeah, but what's the cow's quality of life after that?
I don't know. But you do see the horse. So there's several horses and we'll talk about it. But during the raid on Vladimir, you see a horse fall downstairs. And that horse, the cut scene, there was more. You actually saw it being stabbed with a lance. That was cut. But they really killed that horse. So he was from the slaughterhouse. I don't know why I'm calling all the animals he. I don't know why I'm gendering these animals. I really don't. But the horse was from the slaughterhouse. And after they killed the horse, they sent it back to the slaughterhouse to actually use the meat. Which makes me really upset because Tarkovsky's supposed to be this nature guru, right? There's this cute little video of him like in nature saying, I love solitude and what a beautiful animal, and it's a horse, and he literally killed a horse on set. And this whole movie, I feel like it kind of goes against the whole movie itself.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
The fact that they actually killed an animal, I don't know. The movie's about violence, right? So like, yeah, the fact that they actually killed the animal is really, really upsetting.
I think, not to reason it away, because this stuff is always is upsetting, but like, I think too, it's a different time, it's a different place, and I think he's really trying to like hit home how vile this time was.
Definitely, but also don't
not that I'm
like,
excusing
I'm a
him.
nature guru and I love nature, and then kill an animal.
No, I agree. I agree. It's upsetting. It's unnecessary. Like
they like shot it so that it would fall, and then they like shot it again to kill it.
God.
It's horrible.
How many movies have we done on this podcast so far with real animal death?
Why?
It's a lot.
I know. We should compile a list, a letterbox list.
The worst have you seen the film, what's it called? The Tree of Wooden Clogs?
No.
It's an Italian movie about these farmers.
No, I have not.
I made the mistake of watching it with Molly. And we both love animals, but she's like really loves animals.
Yeah.
And there's this whole scene where they like, because they cast real farmers in the movie, and they like pull this like screaming pig into this room, and they like slit its neck and it starts bleeding, but you like see the whole thing, and Molly was like in tears, and I felt terrible for showing it to her, and I didn't know about this scene, I didn't know this was in here. But yeah, I mean, it's just it makes me so upset. And I think the biggest offender of all the films we've done so far is Tuki Buki.
I was going to say
Tuki Buki was in the first 2 minutes. It's just slaughtered cows, blood everywhere, like horrific. But yeah, it just bums me out. It bums me out. It docks this movie. And I do think this film, I think it's for a second film, it's very impressive because Ivan's childhood is very compact. It's like 90 minutes. It's a much smaller story.
Right.
It's this big sprawling epic.
Right.
But I don't think this is peak Tarkovsky. I think it took him one more film to get there, and that was Solaris. Even though, again, that's not my favorite film, but what you were talking about, the etherealness of Tarkovsky and the sort of the meditative stuff, it's not so much in Andrei Rublev, I feel like.
It's in the moments where he's like, for example, he's with his apprentice and they're by the lake and they stick their hands in the mud and they're talking about this. It's in that is the episode of the Passion According to Andrei.
Okay, yeah.
That, and in this one I just mean more as it's like the whole nature of this like faith artist struggle, that type of thing. But I get what you're saying for sure.
Yeah, I think it's almost
Mirror is more probably.
Yeah, I think this is almost too talky for a Tarkovsky film.
Yeah. I still love Mirror. Mirror's my favorite.
I know it is.
It's so gorgeous.
I really want to see that again.
See it again?
Yeah.
Where was I? Oh, we were talking about gouging people's eyes out and horses.
You know, I could have had more people's eyes getting gouged, less animals getting killed.
Wow. Well, you know that's fake. That's why
I know, but give me more of that.
Yeah. And you know, it's like it's not even that. It's again with the bell, for example, the fact that they know they'll be beheaded if they fail.
I wonder why the kid even agreed to do it if he didn't actually know the secret.
Well, I think that's the whole beauty of it. It's
Right.
like he's so committed to his craft and he loves making these bells and it's art for him, and that's what that's why I like it so much. What do you mean? Why did he do it?
No, you're right.
Do you just love that ghost of the Greek? This is in Vladimir after the massacre in the church. That is incredible, by the way.
Oh, yeah. And it starts snowing.
Yeah. Do you just love that ghost scene?
Why am I like not remembering the ghost scene?
Oh my God. The massacre has just happened.
Yeah.
What's her name? Doshka. She's like braiding a corpse's hair.
Uh-huh.
And the Greek comes as a ghost. And Andrei's like, oh, Theophanis, you're dead.
That's right.
I'm so shocked. I thought you were going to be like, that ghost scene.
Favorite
Jackie."
sight and sound.
I'm shook.
Again, it's just less than ideal viewing conditions.
You know what I
this
love?
week.
What he says in that is encroaching evil means encroaching humanity. See, like there's so much about humanity in this that I was just too tired. But like I heard that line, I'm like, that's a line.
It's not your favorite sound, huh?
No. And then he tells him like, God will forgive you. You don't forgive yourself because he's just killed someone who was trying to rape that mute girl, Doshka. Right. And yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like I grabbed all these things that were like, oh, that's interesting. But then I want to give it another watch because.
How about right now?
Let's do it. Bye. Yeah. What else do I have? Oh, let's talk about the pagans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think that was a moment where I think because I don't know. I was going to make a false statement. I was going to say I feel like so much of this film is too controlled, but you have these big battle scenes and you have like I don't think that's necessarily the case, but I love that pagan scene just because it offers a hint of the mysterious and the unknown, and I feel like it's very ethereal. We'll talk about that more later.
Running in. I love the way that it's shot. It's
beautiful.
Really a beautiful sequence. The way that the way that he looks down for a moment and his robe is on fire. Oh, and then they're running with their torches.
Is it just me? But when the woman ties him up in that barn,
she doesn't tie him up.
Oh, that's right.
She unties him.
Right. But so he's tied up. His arms are above him. And she goes in to kiss him.
Yeah.
And he's like, please untie me. And then she just does and lets him go.
Right.
I feel like he just wanted to pretend like he was resisting, for the sake of God. And he wanted
He's being tempted in that scene. Yeah, for sure.
I don't think he actually wanted her to untie it.
No, I don't think so. And even like in the end, I thought to myself, because she lets him go. And then cut to many hours later, or it seems like many hours later, because he leaves, but then you see him leave again, and she's like on the branch, and there's that gorgeous zoom in on her. Mm-hmm. I almost thought, I was like, did he like sleep with her?
I don't think so, but he stayed in the area.
He lingered.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I kind of love that they're just hippies, that they're just like all love and peace, just because we're not Christian. And yeah, I really dig that. Yeah, I dig them.
What is the official definition of a pagan? It's
someone who believes in multiple gods.
Oh, right. They say that in the movie. Yeah, it's just crazy because the connotation of pagan is like witchcraft and stuff.
Right, and I love how they're literally just hippies.
Yeah, they should have been born in the 20th century. They would have had a much easier time.
Right. And then the gorgeous shot. So I love when they have that boat that they're doing some sort of ceremony. And then the next day when Andrei's with his group, that boat is just like floating on the water. Yeah. That's what I mean in these like beautiful still.
Yeah.
And then her swimming when she's trying to get away. That is gorgeous. Yeah. That's one of them. I think that's the most gorgeously shot sequence.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's beautiful.
I mean, that stuff is that's Tarkovsky's like specialty, is that those little moments. And
did you notice in the barn? I'm going back now to the jester, but did you notice? Was it like an anamorphic type? Like what's going on there with the camera? Because it's really cool. It's like fisheye, anamorphic, wide. Like he's like moving with him, but then the background's kind of curved.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's exactly what it is. Because
cool.
those wide lenses, when you get that close, everything gets distorted.
It's really cool.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
This movie was described by Tarkovsky as a film of the earth.
I think he did that better later.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I love this. This is from the Criterion essay, and it's written by Jay Hoberman. And he's talking about like the animals and the nature. And he says, undirectable creatures animate Tarkovsky's compositions. A cat bounds across a corpse-strewn church. Wild geese flutter over a ravaged city. The birch woods are alive with water snakes and crawling ants. The forest floor yields a decomposing swan. See, I like that about it.
Yeah, I think I don't know if I get that as much from the film itself, though.
Really? But what about all those ants and that snake and that cat?
I mean, you're like, they're all there. Yeah, they are. I don't know. I think, again, he just refined it so much more later. Because I think so much of his films after this rely just solely on setting a mood. Whereas this is more, there's more narrative going on here. I think there's more narrative in this film than any of his other films.
Yeah.
Right?
Of the ones I've seen? Probably.
I think so.
But also it's like, it's a movie called Andrei Rublev, but not really about Andrei Rublev.
Right.
I don't know.
Yeah, the scope is just so
But this
huge.
is what I mean with like the metaphysics of Tarkovsky, because he was like into aesthetics. Like he was actually like, he's written on like aesthetics and metaphysics. And it's this type of stuff that trips me out with his movies that I feel like I can't grasp or talk about.
Yeah, well, it's a feeling.
Right. It's
a
really
feeling.
It's really interesting.
It's not almost not even meant to be spoken about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that wall of birch logs at the monastery. Oh my
yeah.
God. Amazing. Okay, let's talk about the horses.
We thought we did.
No. Are they just symbols for the whole plot and what's going on in his head? It starts with the horse that's rolling around. But that horse is not injured. That's literally just a horse playing, like, or scratching his back. And then like he doesn't really get, but the darkness of it is you don't see him get up again. So there's one horse. Okay. And then when they're leaving the barn, did you notice like they walk out of frame and then you can see the horses of the soldiers taking away the jester behind, walking in a row?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, that's a great composition.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Of course, the horse that's falling down the stairs during the massacre of Vladimir. That's very symbolic. And then the last
guess you could say
shot of the movie is horses. It's the painting.
Oh, you're right.
And the last shot
Oh my
is just
God.
3 horses or
Yes.
4 horses.
That's a very deliberate move to go back to live action.
So many horses.
Yeah.
I need to know why.
No, you're right. We literally end on horses. You're right.
Yes.
Good question. I don't know.
I don't know either.
Maybe he just likes them.
Why would he kill one then?
You're right. Maybe he likes the clippity clop.
I mean, I get it. And also Duroshka, that girl. Okay, did you notice that she comes back in the end?
No.
That's her at the bell. She's now married to a Tatar and she has a kid, and that's
shit.
her pulling a horse with her kid.
Oh my God.
And then again when he's like comforting the bellmaker kid.
Uh-huh.
And she walks by with the horse.
I didn't even notice
Exactly.
her.
Neither did I until I was doing research.
Oh, God. Yeah, I don't...
See, there's just like, that's what I mean when I feel like I need to watch it again.
Yeah.
And I need to sit and I need to meditate.
Yeah.
Because I can't comprehend it.
Yeah.
I can, but I can't fully. I felt it more when I was writing all of this down and rewatching scenes. I don't know.
Yeah.
Horses.
Maybe he just loves When Harry Met Sally.
When Harry Met Sally? What does that have to do with
the
horses?
horses thing?
What horses thing?
Isn't that When Harry Met Sally?
I don't think so.
Horses.
When?
Meg Ryan?
When did she say that?
I thought she did.
Are you thinking of the charade scene?
No.
What scene?
When Harry Met Sally.
What scene?
She's singing the Christmas song. Horses.
I don't think it's Harry and Sally.
Is it not?
But yeah, the bell caster is played by Nikolai Berlyayev, who plays Ivan in Ivan's Childhood.
Right.
Did you not notice that?
It's been so long
Actually,
since I've seen
the
Ivan's
actress who plays
Childhood.
Duroshka, who was married to Tarkovsky, she's the mom in Ivan's Childhood.
Oh, okay. Yeah. The only thing I wish we got in that bell scene that we didn't get was the carvings on the bell. How the fuck did
I thought the same thing. I was like, that's fascinating. How did he do that?
Like, clearly they had to go inside the mold and make those carvings.
I know.
But like, that's one piece, because when they take the clay off and you're like, oh, it has these ornate carvings.
Right.
Like, what the
And I
fuck?
even thought to myself, I'm like, how do they even make those ornate carvings? And then I saw the bell with the ornate carvings.
Yeah.
I love I love seeing how things used to be made.
Yes, always.
So that's why I love this bell scene so much. And how hard it was, and how we just take it for granted. Like, you go to like Europe, let's say, and you see an old church, and everyone always talks about how hard it was to make the church, but like, how hard was it to make that bell?
Just the bell. A whole village for this one.
Right.
Like, people could have died too. I'm sure people died making bells all the time.
Of course.
It's dangerous. Those furnaces, and like, people could fall in.
Of course.
Yeah, I think, no, like you, I love in films, one of my favorite things is when you learn how something worked, like just the nuts and bolts thing.
I love that.
Like when I first saw There'll Be Blood, of like, I didn't know anything about oil derricks and all that stuff, and just seeing physically how this stuff goes together and works, like, I love that in movies.
Me too.
So this movie could have been 3 hours of just the bell making, and I would have been in. Throw some rain in there, throw a couple ghosts, then it's one of my all-time favorite movies.
The horses rain at the end. It's raining.
That's true.
The horses. It's also raining during the bell scene when he's looking for the clay.
Yes, because that's how he finds the great clay.
Yeah.
No, I mean, that is like, I mean, he's wise to end on that chapter because it's definitely the most compelling, because there's most of the other chapters don't have this like really strong narrative drive behind them. Not that they need to, and not that most Tarkovsky films do. But the fact that one is, you really get behind that kid, and it's like the whole village is coming together and the stakes are so high. And the moment when it was almost my favorite sight.
Yeah.
When they're
trying to get it to ring.
He's trying to get it to ring. The guy that's gonna get his eardrums blown out by this bell, but like he's like swinging it, but it takes so long to get it, to ring, and everyone's just waiting, and they're literally waiting there to like decapitate them if it didn't work.
I know. Ugh.
Yeah. No, yeah. It's funny because I was talking to my friend Matt a couple months ago or something about this movie. It came up in conversation. And I was like, oh, that bell scene. He's like, isn't that the whole movie? I was like, no, it's just the last piece. Like, but it is like the last, like almost, it's like 45 to 50 minutes is that bell.
Yeah.
So it is like a big chunk of the movie. It's the longest segment.
Yeah.
But it's funny because it's just so much the most memorable of the sequences.
Right. I wonder why he used to call the whole movie The Passion, according to Andrei, when it's such a small part.
Maybe because Andrei could refer to Andrei Rublev or Andrei Tarkovsky.
Oh, yeah. And I guess just like him painting, his paintings are like his version of the Passion story. I don't know.
I think the Passion title is a little more poetic, whereas Andrei Rublev is just his name.
I like The Passion according to Andrei. I think it's cool. And I think it's cool that it could be, Tarkovsky. Wow. But he does have a really romantic image of like Christ and Christianity. Andrei Rublev. Like he like doesn't. I love when he's like, I don't want to paint the Last Judgment. Like I don't want to do that. I really like that.
Yeah.
And I just love.
I think there's a lot of Tarkovsky in there.
Definitely. I love what he says. So the reason I like that Passion sequence, I think, is just because the Greek is so pessimistic. And Andrei's so optimistic, and just what he's saying. Like I love what he says about when Jesus is being crucified. Oh, it's Good Friday, by the way. This is like a perfect day.
Oh, it is. Oh my God.
He says that would have aroused hatred, not in those who crucified him, but those who loved him, if they had been near him at the moment, because they loved him as a man only. But if he left them of his own free will, he displayed injustice or even cruelty. Like that's such a cool interpretation and such a cool thing to say.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just neat.
Yeah. There's a lot of neat things about this
What
movie.
a neat little film.
Imagine someone just like watching this movie stone-faced and it ends 3 hours later and they're just like, huh, neat.
That's me. I do feel like if I watched this movie again, I would really like it.
I think it just goes to show you too how much like you need to be kind of in the mood to watch something. Although we've talked about films on this podcast before where like we didn't feel like watching the film that week and then the movie just gets you anyway. Yeah. But I think Andrei Rublev is such a specific movie. And I don't want to say taxing because it is a great film, but like, sure, it requires a lot from the viewer. A lot of tax. So much tax. But like, you have to give yourself over fully to this movie.
Oh, tell me about it.
So, yeah, I think so. It just sucks because I knew while I was watching it and just like not enjoying it, I was like, I feel really bad that I'm doing this to this movie.
Right.
Because it deserves more than my
Right.
indifference.
How do we feel about him like adopting the mute girl, who, by the way, is referred to as a holy fool? Do you know what a holy fool is? I didn't know this.
No.
A holy fool is someone who probably is just like someone who's special needs, honestly, but was like called a holy fool because they like don't talk and they just like commit their whole life to Christianity, but they don't like.
Oh my God.
I don't know. It's very murky and it's very weird, but she's referred as this like holy fool who's just devoted her life to Christ. But I don't see. Has she
like special needs?
Do you think she's special? I don't know.
Would it describe why she goes off with the?
She doesn't understand. Yeah, she doesn't understand
tartar
that
sauce
tartar sauce. She doesn't understand that she's going to be one of his wives. Like, it's very. I don't know.
Yeah, because Andrei Rublev is treating her like a child in that scene because he's like, no, he's just like pulling her away.
She doesn't realize what's happened.
Maybe
That's what
she
I'm
has
saying.
special needs.
I think that was just their way of
Yeah. Huh. I hadn't thought about that.
You thought she just like forgot that there was a massacre and was going to go with this guy willingly?
I thought she just like suffered a breakdown or something,
I think
they're offering her this like other life and she's like, fuck it.
I think when she first enters the church and just starts crying and like painting the.
Oh shit.
I
missed all the signs.
I don't know.
So wait, did you know she was special needs from the.
I mean, it's kind of clear that there's something different about her.
Maybe
She doesn't talk.
It's times like this where I'm like, am I as perceptive as I think I am?
I don't know if you are.
I don't know if I am either.
But yeah, he just like adopts her.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Yeah. And then they're both meet together for like several years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But never anything romantic.
That's a lot to impose on her.
Yeah.
He's like, I'm going to be mute, so you do it too because you're with me.
No, she was mute before.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God. Here's the big question. Here's the $1 million question.
Yeah.
Does Andrei die a virgin?
I think no.
Or does he sleep with one of the bells?
The bells of the ball? No, I think maybe he returns to the pagans.
You think so?
Actually, I think he dies a virgin.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah.
He seems like, you know what would have made this movie better? If there was a castration scene.
Why?
If self-inflicted castration.
No, that would have been awful.
Then I would have gotten behind him a little bit more.
Why? That sounds really
kidding.
bad.
Just kidding. I don't know. No, he does a virgin for sure.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. He's literally the least sexual man I've ever seen in this film.
Right.
He's spicy and stalker. Lord knows.
I think he's yes, he is. I think there's something really attractive about him in Mirror.
Oh, yeah,
like
sure.
the way that he just comes by and he's a doctor and he like sits on her fence and then is like in the wheat field. Like
totally. There's a
he's
confidence.
Pretty hot.
You know what? He has a young Robert Duvall vibe about him.
Yeah.
Right?
It's because he's bald.
Yeah. And similar eyes, I think. Similar shaped faces.
Yeah.
Yeah. Old Robert Duvall. Here's the question.
Yeah.
Does Robert Duvall like this film?
I don't know. Maybe we should ask him.
We should. Let's call him right now. Let's get him on speaker.
That'd be so nice. I don't know. Like, I don't really see myself sitting to watch this.
You were just saying.
I want to. No, I want to. But when am I ever going to muster up the will? Maybe if I'm in a real deep Tarkovsky deep dive when am I ever going to muster up the will to put this on?
Well, I know what you mean. And I think I'm a big fan of his. I consider him, he's rightfully one of the great filmmakers that's ever lived. But you have to be in a very specific mood to watch one of his movies. And I think this, on top of that, is like another specific thing.
Right.
Like, I think last night, if I had to put on Mirror or Stalker or something, I would have eased into it. But because it was Andrei Rublev, it was this other obstacle of okay, let's really strap in and rally to watch this film.
Yeah.
So yeah, no, I know what you mean. I have the Blu-ray, but now I've watched the Blu-ray twice.
That's great.
And the second disc is the Passion According to Andrei cut.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Should we do Sight and Sound?
Yeah, let's do Sight and Sound.
So
Sight.
Okay. I think it's combined.
Oh, mine's combined also.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Because he's Tarkovsky, you know?
Yeah.
If it's the same one. No, I think yours is the pagans. It is. Okay. No, mine's not pagans. Mine is like, I want to choose a different site, but if I had to marry them because they're so perfect, it's something about his apprentice, whose name I don't remember, runs away from Vladimir, but he's still shot with an arrow. And the movie goes silent for the perfect moment, and then sound comes back and it's water splashing, and it splashes on the camera.
It's in slow motion too.
It's incredible.
I know exactly. When that water hit the camera, I'm like, oh man, the joy he must have had when he watched the dailies and saw that shot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the way that the water splashes perfectly and there's no other sound except water. That's why it's
mine. Nice.
Obviously, I don't like to see anyone get killed with an arrow.
It was a pretty tame death. Honestly, that guy died a little too quickly. It's just an arrow in the back.
Yeah, I mean,
it didn't even go through him.
You're right.
It didn't go through him.
Right.
He probably would have lived for like 6 hours and just screaming in pain.
Yeah, I know. So that's my favorite combined.
Cool.
There's so many sites that I can pick.
Well, of course, it's Tarkovsky.
But
yeah, stick with that one. Because if you say more, then I have to pull more clips.
Okay, go for it.
So
What's yours?
Unless you have sites. Do you have sites?
Sites, I'm saying.
Okay,
not
do your
sounds.
sites. Because I don't have to pull sites.
Sites are just like.
Well, first let's hear. Sorry, let's hear your combined sight and sound of the guy splashing in the water.
Yeah. So crisp. I'm surprised you didn't choose water. You did, but it's the pagans.
No, I didn't choose water.
I really love that really weird. Actually, it's kind of. Oh my god, there's so many. No, I think it's the pagan girl swimming from up top, swimming
past
away.
the boat.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
What's yours?
You got it. It's the pagans.
What about them?
So it's the shot.
Going into the water, yeah.
No, not going into the water. There's no water. They're just running through the brush. And they have their torches lit. It's not because there's a bunch of naked women. Although, what the fuck? Are the guys naked?
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
You feel like you don't see any dicks.
You don't see dicks.
I lose a little respect, honestly, if there's a bunch of naked people, but there's no dicks. It's that shot, and combined with the soundtrack. Do you remember the soundtrack during that scene? It's this choral music. Here it is. I'm going to play it for you. You know what it sounds like? It sounds like
so
the Tiki Room at the end. I just realized.
There's our Disneyland plug.
It's not a plug. I'm definitely not supporting Disney.
What? Since when? Oh, like
I mean the company.
Yeah, no.
Plus, they don't need a plug.
No, they don't.
The Tiki Room does not need a plug either.
I love the Tiki Room.
It's great.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was our sight and sound. This is where we would normally do Pauline Kael, but I could not find a Pauline Kael review of this. I think because of the release, domestic.
Probably. But then it played at the New York Film Festival in 1971.
Maybe she didn't want to get up at 4 a.m. to watch it.
That's Con.
Oh, that was Con. Yeah, no, as far as I know, she did not review Andrei Rublev, so we can only imagine. Anyway, we do have Letterboxd.
Great. Always good for a really revered film like this.
I've got a 5-star review here. I was not expecting to be deeply personally affected by a 3-hour 1960s Russian black and white movie from a notoriously difficult director about a 15th century icon painter. But here we are. This was incredible.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that kind of speaks to, it goes on, but that makes the point. I think it speaks to Tarkovsky's skill as a filmmaker. Although, again, this is kind of a homework movie. We talk about that. You know, it requires
Definitely.
a lot from the viewer. But I do think that, likewise, when I first heard about this, I was like, 15th century icon painter. Like, what? I don't care.
Yeah.
And it's involving,
Yeah.
you know, considering the subject matter.
Totally. 3.5 stars. Yes, I did watch Andrei Rublev and understand everything that happened.
So did we. That's why we're here to tell you about it. I got a 4.5 star review here that says, "It just takes 2 Andres to totally fuck you up. Let's go make bells and paint churches, bruh."
I have a 4.5 as well. Tarkovsky. Yo, I made this for the fans, not the critics. Maybe speaking to how hard it was to get released.
Yeah. Now we're going to go to the low ones here. I got a 0.5 star review. "I was content before watching Andrei Rublev, but now I'm exhausted and filled with hatred. Literally the worst any movie could do to you."
Oh my God. So dramatic. 3.5. Tark be like, today I will perfectly portray humanity. Tark.
God, that cannot catch on. 1 star. This is my last one. "Look, I understand that this is an important film. It's the seminal work of a master. It's a keystone of film history, etc. But I fucking hate this movie. I know it's ridiculous, but I will forever be angry at medieval Russian culture because of this film. I'm getting angry just writing this review."
God.
God.
That sounds like you.
What?
Like just the anger.
Jeez.
2.5. If I've got a burning question right away, it is, which of these brooding and reluctant Russians is the titular famous painter Andrei? Before the half-hour mark, I finally get my answer, but I wish somebody had told me a long time ago. I've seen this twice now. To put aside my desire to figure out Andrei and soak in the expansive quasi-historical episodes that filmmaker Andrei Tarkovsky wants us to dwell on. It goes on, but that's funny. Not knowing which one is Andrei, I think it's pretty clear.
That has to be a joke. There's no way you watch this twice.
I don't think the person was joking.
God.
I don't think they were.
Well,
God. Like, I'm exhausted.
yeah. I'm like, because our last episode before this was Children of Paradise, which
I know.
is a much more approachable film. But again, it's
Definitely.
over 3 hours.
Yeah.
So you and I are both exhausted.
Well, guess what we have next week?
Next week we have Leclerc.
Also black and white.
Antonioni.
I don't think it's long, though.
No, it's not. It's not this.
And Alan Delon
And
is
it's
in it.
it's about
Hi.
relationships. It's him
but
and
it's not
it's
good.
Monica Vitti, right?
It's Monica
Yeah,
Vitti,
yeah.
Alan Delon, 2 of the most beautiful people that ever lived. But the movie doesn't quite do it for me.
Well,
so
wait,
I'm not-
don't show your hand yet.
Why? I came on this podcast.
Oh, that's
It
true.
was one of the movies I watched one week, and I was like,
That one time you guessed it on this podcast, you did say that.
I guessed.
You guessed it. You were the guest of Seen and Heard. Yeah, it's funny because we just did the Phantom of Liberty for the film club, which Monica Vitti is in briefly. But yeah, no, I've seen this once. If you don't know, this is part of Antonioni's trilogy. What is it called? I don't know if it has a name, but it's like
Monica Vitti trilogy.
well, it's funny because he made more movies with Monica Vitti that aren't part. Like Red Desert is not
This
part
is
of
black.
the trilogy.
I think it's like the black and white Monica Vitti sad
existential.
Italians.
Yeah. But this is technically the 3rd film, although they're not related at all. And we did do La Ventura, which is considered the first film in the trilogy. But again, you don't need to go watch La Notte if you haven't,
Not La Notte.
I
Wait.
mean,
why'd
La
you
Notte is
mention
the second because it's the second one.
Oh, chronologically they came out like that?
Yeah, La Ventura, La Notte, Leclerc.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, no, so, here we go.
Here we go. Man,
and
I don't know.
also, if you haven't joined us yet on Patreon, we're on there. We have a poll that closes in 2 days for our s'mores episode this week to decide what episode we're going to cover after Leclerc.
Yeah.
It's between Return to Oz and The Wicker Man, the original one from 1973, I believe.
And we're really sad because we really wanted to do Return to Oz, but
Well,
The Wicker Man is winning
The
currently.
Wicker Man
so
is
we
winning.
need you to join the Patreon and vote for Return to Oz.
Yeah. So we have the link in our show notes for that. But join us over there. And I guess come back next week for some more Antonioni.
Yay.
Until then, I'm Greg.
I'm Jackie.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Seen and Heard is an official podcast of the Arroyo Film Club, featuring Greg Kleinschmidt and Jacqueline Postagian. Theme music by Andrew Cox. If you like what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. If you have any questions, comments, or you just want to say hi, email us hello@seenandheardpod.com or visit our website, www.seenandheardpod.com.